Assalamu alaikum everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Unmute Your Mic with Mohammed. I am your host Mohammed bin Riaz, business wala from Pakistan. Today we have a very special guest joining us from the United States. Dr. John is an award-winning thrilling novelist, short story writer, and former medical research with fascinating career journey. We are starting our interview with John. So let's start our interview. How are you, John? What's your day going today?
Hi, Mohammed. Thanks for having me. Pleasure to be on your podcast.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir, for your time and your special time. So I'm starting my interview about your all habits and your professions and your journey of a writer. So let's talk about your personal journey. Sir, tell us a little about your childhood and where you grew up.
Um, I have a kind of a weird background for a fiction writer. Uh, I have a doctor in veterinary medicine, a master's in public health, and a PhD in public health, which is not the typical road that most fiction writers go. But that's not really as weird as it sounds because during grade school, I loved reading fiction, loved all my English classes that taught reading and classics and writing, and loved my history classes. But when I decided to focus on science, I kind of had to put those on the back burner. So those became just hobbies while I pursued my scientific training, first as a veterinarian. I practiced small animal practice in Michigan, USA for about 8 years, went back to school, got a master's and a PhD in public health, and worked as a researcher and in government and in academia and also in industry. And while I was working in industry, I noticed I was doing less and less research and more writing, primarily because for two reasons. I liked it, and my bosses liked that I was good at it. So I left the corporate world in the early 2000s and started a career as a medical writer, writing technical documents. And that was going really good until about 2008 when we hit the worldwide Great Recession. And companies didn't want to hire people like me. They weren't hiring anybody. So I said, why not write a novel? I'd always wanted to. And I think every writer, no matter what they write, technical documents, insurance writers, whatever, would love to be a novelist. So I used the time, 6 months or so, to actually pen a novel, which still sits on my computer to this day and probably will never be published. But it got me started. And so I kept writing. Even when business picked up, I kept writing novels and short stories, and got my first short story published in, I think, 2016 or something like that. And finally, around 2015, I decided I could afford to retire from medical writing and just do fiction writing full time. I got my first novel, Project Suicide, and that's this one right here. Was published in 2002. Checkout Time published in 2003, and in 2023. And finally, last year, I had two novels published, Bad Pennies and The Peeper. And The Peeper was just awarded a finalist for the Silver Falchion Award at Killer Nashville this August. So I won't hear until August if I actually won. But it's good to be one of the 6 finalists. And so I'm working on other novels now, and that's where we stand.
Amazing, very amazing story. You are from medical and going to a fiction writer and write medical writing and Just like I like your story, very amazing story. So, did you always dream of becoming a writer, or like you say about?
Excuse me, I didn't hear that question.
Yeah, yeah, I can. Did you always dream of becoming a writer? Like you tell us about, you go to medical to the in your young age, like you're a kid. Your what is your mindset of becoming?
Yeah, like I said, everybody who enjoys writing and does writing as an insurance copywriter or advertising or whatever usually is a reader. I don't think you can be a fiction writer without being a reader. Primarily a fiction. Nonfiction is good too. It helps you to learn, but you have to be. Someone once said, "Read a lot, write a lot." That's how you become a writer. And I loved to read as a kid. My parents instilled the love of books and used to spend lots of time going to the library and in Detroit, where I grew up, and reading lots of novels, starting with Jules Verne and going on to the Tolkien trilogy and thrillers by Elmore Leonard and Robert Parker, and then Stephen King. And so I've always harbored, it would be great. I'd love to write a novel. And when I was doing my medical writing, that was coming out more and more. I was starting to shy away from doing the cookbook kind of reports for journal articles, where you've got the results and the discussion, and it's kind of a cookie cutter approach. And I was starting to expand into things like radio scripts and advertorials and kind of pie in the sky, blue sky white papers, things that let me be more creative. And so I said, why not carry that over into fiction? And I've loved the journey so far. Uh, it's a good creative outlet.
Okay, very amazing. You tell us about your story and how you become a writer. So, what inspired you love for storytelling?
I've always been a big fan of movies and books, and I think that's part of it. You see the storytelling, and you say, "Hey, I'd like to do that." I have a good imagination. I think all writers have to. I've also been an amateur actor, not so much in the past, 5, 10 years, but before that, was in quite a few community theater shows. And actors and writers are very similar. As in fact, a lot of famous actors also write. And when you're doing a character or writing characters, it's the same kind of process. You're taking your own life experience, people you've met, people you've seen, people you can think about, and bringing them through you onto the page. So people sometimes say, well, is that autobiographical? Is that, well, all of them are to a certain extent because they come through me. And like I said, it's a great creative outlet. You can follow paths that you wouldn't normally in everyday society, but you can do it fictionally. Stephen King says that he's one of my influences. He says that we're all multiple beings, human beings, and some we show to society and some we keep covered up. And as a writer, you can and should bring those ones that are covered up to the surface in the form of characters that people can experience. Even if it's a dark character, it's part of you.
Okay, very amazing. You tell us about your how your imagination is, and yes, I also have fictional imaginations. I also want to make stories like that. I have make some documentaries. I have also good very imagination. So you tell us about your big influencer. So who were your three biggest influencers growing up?
Well, the number one influence was my parents, who pushed reading as as something that was not only entertainment but could advance you uh, mentally and spiritually. As far as writers go, I like a lot of writers. Like I mentioned, some of the ones I would include Michael Crichton with that. My first novel, Project Suicide, is kind of a techno thriller, which is a Michael Crichton type of style writing. But my big three, I would say, are Ernest Hemingway, the man who kind of taught us that prose does not have to be flowery. It can be straight from the shoulder, short and punchy, and still make a huge impact. Omar Leonard, who is an American writer who I think is the king of writing dialogue. I've been told my dialogue is very natural. And a lot of that comes from Elmore Leonard, reading Elmore Leonard, and certainly reading scripts, doing my theater days. Scripts are nothing but dialogue and stage direction. And the third one is Stephen King. I think he is the king of characters. One of the reasons people love his horror fiction so much is he really gets you to love the characters before he messes with them. And that gets you invested in their survival, their life, their death, their suffering. So those are the big three.
Okay, thank you for telling us about your influencers, and I don't know about that because I am not seeing them. Because in Pakistan, I don't see them, but from your side, I will see them like they are heroes for you. So next, we are discussing about your career transition. So you started in veterinary medicine and public health research. How did that journey begin?
My publication journey, yeah, basically, and this is to any of the writers out there, expect rejection to be the norm. What you have to do as a writer is you basically have to pitch your writing. That may be an in person pitch where you're talking to an agent or a publisher about your book, and you have to learn to do that in a few sentences to really get a point across because they don't have a lot of time. Or it may be a pitch that you send to magazines or publishers, a short story query. I'm interested in publishing this. It's a story about, this is a little bit about me, and you get it out there. And then you send a lot of these out and you wait. And usually three things can happen. Number one, nothing. The biggest form of rejection is they ignore you, non-response. Number two, they respond and say, no, thank you. And that's usually all you get. They say, this is not a reflection on you. No, thank you. We're not interested at this time. Or they like it and they want to publish it. That's a big thrill when you get the first one. I think my first short story was published in 2016 or 2018, something like that. And you're used to getting these rejection ones. And when one comes in that says, we want to publish it, that's a big deal. As far as novels go, I pitched those to a lot of places, including Checkout Time, my second novel. I pitched to Thriller Fest in New York, which is the biggest thriller convention in the country. And I was having trouble getting through the sea of everybody else who was pitching their novels. But I finally found a small press in Indiana, Pathbinder, was interested in Project Suicide. And so, as I said, we published that first one in 2022. They then picked up Checkout Time in 2023. They published a sequel to Project Suicide in 2024 called Bad Pennies. And another publisher called Rogue Phoenix picked up The Peeper, which is this one right here. and that's a serial killer uh, thriller. And I am currently in the process of pitching several other books, and it's just until you become like a known entity, a Stephen King, a Dennis Patterson, an Elmore Leonard, Robert Parker, what have you. You're constantly pitching, and even the big guys pitch to a certain extent and get rejected to a certain extent. So, two things you shouldn't expect uh, when you pitch material. You shouldn't expect a lot of feedback. You typically don't get any. When you do, that means they really liked your work because they took time. And the second thing is don't expect a lot of money. Uh, it's kind of like the difference between being a working actor and being a celebrity actor. The money is very different for the two. And that's the same with writing. Most writers do it for the love of writing. Don't make a lot of money at it. They have other jobs, day jobs. A very few hit the big time, become J.K. Rowling or Robert Parker or one of those.
Okay, so yes, that's true that in only not writing in any business you get rejections, you get uh, that believe people believe you about that you have not a good businessman, or you are not good writer, or you reject everyone reject for you any type of business which is writing or any type of thing. So it's a part of our life to do your own, not the job. So very amazing tell us about your career. So what is the difficult decision to leave scientific career?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear the end of that.
Yes, okay. So what is the difficult decision of you to leave scientific career?
Why did I switch careers, basically? Uh, there were a variety of reasons. Uh, I switched from veterinary medicine to public health because uh, it was difficult to deal with the public for a long period of time. Veterinary medicine is very stressful. You have life and death decisions to make. You have a lot of cranky people to deal with. I used to tell people when they'd say, my son, my daughter, my nephew wants to be a veterinarian, I would say, why? And they'd say, they love animals. How do you feel about people? Because you're dealing with mostly people. And I would tell people, have your son, daughter, whatever, work in retail sales for 6 months. If they like that, then they might like veterinary medicine. But also, there was a lot, like I said, a lot of life and death decisions, which make it very difficult. So I went from that to a more scientific discipline, public health epidemiology, the study of disease patterns. And I did that for about uh, 20 years before I kind of got tired of the corporate world. And that's when I went to become a freelance uh, medical writer. And I already talked about this. The change from that was kind of gradual, but the precipitating factor was the Great Recession of 2008, where I actually had time on my hands that I could try fiction, and fiction's a lot more fun. And so once I got the bug for that, it wasn't that long, another 6 or 7 years uh, before I became financially independent enough, my wife and I, so I could pursue something that I love, but that doesn't pay that well.
Okay, so this was about how you change your career. So we're going to your writing skills and your novels. So uh, how would you describe your writing style?
I usually write in the morning. Uh, I'll write for an hour or two in the morning, and I try to do a set word count. 500 is kind of a minimum. If I can do 700 or 800 or 1,000, that's great. And I think that's true of most writers. The most prolific writer I know of is Stephen King, and he writes 2,000 words a day, which is a lot. And he does that in 3 hours, 2 to 3 hours. So, and that's during the day. In the afternoon, I may be revising something. I may be pitching, sending things out to publishers or magazines or anthologies, that kind of thing. Uh, Going to conferences, certain amount of time. I'm going to Killer Nashville in August, where I'll be teaching a class. So if anybody wants to go to Killer Nashville, August 20th to the 23rd, it's a great conference, uh, very well attended, and you'd enjoy it. And then doing podcasts and things like that, to try to market, which is probably the most difficult part, marketing.
Yeah, you're true. Marketing is the very to have clients. It's very difficult, and you tell us about we do in morning. So it's our mind is like very good at this time. So amazing about your writing skills. So we're going to your writing process. So what does a typical writing day look like for you?
What does what look like for me?
What does a typical writing day look like for you? Typical writing.
I'm sorry, teaching writing?
Sorry. A typical writing day. Typical writing.
Why do I write? I'm having trouble figuring out what you're saying. It's a bad connection.
Okay, 1 minute. Okay, so I'm just questioning that what does a hard day like typical day look like for you?
Oh, a typical writing day. Well, first, I want to say that I always tell people you have to treat writing, fiction writing especially, as both a business and a hobby. As a business, you have to do it every day or nearly every day. Uh, I've had people tell me, kind of jokingly, but kind of serious, there's no such thing as writer's block because there's no such thing as plumber's block. A plumber may not feel like plumbing that day, but it's his job. He's got to do it. So, similarly, with a writer, you got to sit down and force yourself to do it, even when the juices aren't really flowing. And secondly, you have to treat it as a hobby because you won't be able to do it, force yourself, if you don't enjoy doing it or be driven to do it. It should feel uncomfortable days that you don't do it because something's missing. And so some people say they want to write, but it's like, well, if you don't write, but you want to write, then you don't really want to write. So that's number one is you have to treat it like a business and a hobby. You have to stick to it and you have to do it because you love it. And secondly, as I said, most of my writing is done in the morning. Some people are evening writers or afternoon writers. Some are morning writers. Uh, Morning and evening are usually the two biggies that people go with. I personally am what they call a seat of your pants writer, which means I don't outline a lot. I don't set everything up in advance and then fill in the blanks. I kind of start with a story idea and let it travel and follow the twists and turns of the stream, as it were. And I like to do that, especially with my thrillers, because if it surprises me, then it's going to surprise the reader. A lot of times I don't know what a character will do or whether or not a character will be killed off until nearly the time it happens. And so surprises are good, especially in suspense thriller writing. And so that's kind of it. That's my day. As I said, in the afternoon will be more like pitching, marketing, things like that. Uh, but I'm a morning writer.
Okay. Yeah, that's true. That's very right for you. So, I that you tell us about you like movies, you big fan of books and movies. So, we are going to talk about movies, acting, and creativity. I that you tell you enjoy acting. So, how has acting helped you writing?
Like I said, I think writing and acting, or writing and theater, if you want to put it that way, or film, are very closely related. Like I said, dialogue. In acting, you're reading tons of scripts. I must have read 100 scripts. And scripts are nothing but dialogue and stage direction. So that's one good way to learn how to write dialogue. So I think that's a biggie. Character development also. As a actor, you develop a background for your character. It may not all show on the screen, but it shows inside you. You know what the character is like because you know how they grew up, how they behaved, and that will come out in very specific acting choices that will seem real to people because they are grounded in you. They may be based on other people, but they're grounded through you. And similarly, the characters in your writing are grounded through you. They may be based on people you've seen, people you'd like to be, people you wouldn't want to be, uh, but it all comes through you and is influenced by your soul, your personality, what have you. So I think those are very related. Similarly, watching movies, you're listening to the dialogue, you're seeing how characters behave. Uh, and I don't want to limit it to just movies and books and screenplays and scripts. Everything that you learn in life, everything you observe, everything you learn in school can help with writing and reading. Just the discipline of being able to work through a story problem in math class, that will help with the discipline of putting words on the page or bringing a character to life. Anything that trains you to think and feel and direct yourself is going to be a help. So I tell people when they say, "Well, why would I have to take that? I have never used it." Maybe you wouldn't. Maybe you'll never use that math again, but it'll teach you to think.
Yeah, you're right. So, from your side, the acting and writing are same. That's you are very right about that. So, our interview time is about to ending. So, we can you give advice? What message would you like to share with young writers and aspiring authors around the world?
Some words of wisdom that I have been told that I've hung on to is only you can make yourself a writer. Only you can stop yourself from being a writer, which means if you feel the need to write, you should write. If you don't, it's because you stopped yourself. Number two, the best way to become a writer, and training is good. I loved my English classes, as I said, and people go and get MFAs, and that's fine. Master of Fine Arts in literature or whatever. But the big way to learn to write is to read prolifically, preferably good writers. You'll learn from that. Just it's like observing a carpenter at work. If you do it long enough, you'll learn how to be a carpenter. That's what an apprenticeship is. And write a lot. You can't be a writer without being a reader and a writer. I know so many people. I'd love to write. It's like and you don't, which means you don't really want to. So that's my advice is, and don't take rejection to heart. As I said, rejection is the norm. It's not that uh, I'm getting rejected because I stink. Other people are not rejected. Everybody's rejected. And a lot of times it's not because you stink. It's because you are maybe unknown and a publisher wants to go with somebody more known. Or it's because you did not exactly fit the theme of the anthology. Your writing may be good, but it didn't fit the theme. And so you have to accept that and move on. Stephen King would always say that what you have to do is when you start writing, you take a nail and one of these finish nails that you stick it into a board on the wall. And every rejection slip you get, you slide it over that and you let them all build up. And when it's that entire nail is full of rejection slips, then it's time to drive another nail to start over. So rejection is very common, and don't take it to heart. Don't let somebody's rejection, if they provide useful feedback, take that as a compliment. Because, like I said, these are all very busy people, publishers and editors, and they don't give you feedback unless they think your writing is worth something. So take the feedback positively and use it if you believe it. If you don't think it's right for you, don't use it. I've had a writer friend of mine say, a published writer, writes, agented publisher, published writer, who says, the thing about fiction writing is there are really no rules. We have made up some rules, and it's good to know when you're breaking them, but don't feel constrained to write a certain way that someone else tells you have to write. You have to be true to yourself first.
Yeah, that's right. Rejection is everywhere in everything. So, like, my mission is to do 50 foreigner interviews. I have 11th, you are the 11th one. So, I have so much rejections. Like, I do messages to like 100 foreigners. So, I have like 70 to 80% rejections, and only 1 to 2 people want to do interview with me. So rejection in everything in the world, because people don't have time to do give you. And thank you for your time, John, that you give me your very amazing times. And it was an amazing talk with you, amazing interview with you. So, thank you so much for joining us today and sharing your incredible journey with our audience. It was an inspiring moment for us, for me. So, thank you. I will thank you for watching. I will see you in the next episode. Take care. Keep learning. Goodbye. Goodbye, John.
Well, thank you for having me. And everybody can find my books at jbukowskiauthor.com on Amazon.
Hello, anyone buy the John novels, and it's very amazing. I see the picture of it, and it's looking like very crazy. So everyone buy that, and I will meet you in another episode with Unmute of Muhammad. So Allah Hafiz.